This is The Filter on iHeart Podcasts Canada.
Thank you for coming back to Canada. You're about to run all across our great nation, like you've done many times before. And dude, we're so stoked to have you, like we always are.
Yeah, it's been too long for a proper big tour, and we seem to be going places that, it's good. I like going so deep into the country. It's fun.
Your love for this is apparent. You can see it on you. You talk about it at length, and I think that's so neat. That's so special. And I wonder what keeps that love intact, because you've been doing this for a long time. You and your band.
Right.
What is it that you still love so much about it, Gavin?
I think it's just that pursuit of connection. Really getting it right. Like, it's an incredible thing to be able to write songs, and then people connect to those songs, and you go and perform those songs, and this incredible connection with people. And I just really like it. I can't think of anything else more fun to do, and so I do really like it. It's crazy, but yeah, I'm happy that I love my job.
It's been a better part of 3 decades of doing it, over 3 decades now. You do anything for 30 years. Even if you love that thing or that someone so much, that's a long time to do anything, for that long. What keeps that love intact for you, I guess? What keeps that passion burning in you 3 decades later?
Because I think we keep getting better at it. I know it sounds ironic, but in terms of writing, in terms of being inspired by other artists and seeing what they do, and then kind of trying to compete with your own work, and then making records. And we're doing in the middle of a new record right now, and it just fills me with joy to create things, make stuff, make them with my friends, put it together. It still blows me away to write a song. I think it's just magical, because you have all these it's just like the way of words work with a melody against a music, and then counterpoint other stuff. It's just this endless sort of, you just got to think of Mozart or David Bowie, whose birthday it is today, so happy birthday, David Bowie, and realize that the ceiling is so great. There's no, you know what I mean? Go listen to a Radiohead record and be like, okay, let's craft some good songs after hearing that. It's forever. It's just sort of enticing. I don't know. I like it.
So we understand there will be a whole bunch of new Bush music in our lives to coincide with this tour, and a new album called I Beat Loneliness. I saw you talking about that title, but now I get the chance to ask you myself about, calling the album that. Why I Beat Loneliness? And if I can ask, how do you beat loneliness?
Well, it's one of those weird titles. It's an infinite title, because you can never beat loneliness. You can just only beat it temporarily, so it's just, I don't know, just for the idea. I feel that the connection with the band and the power that we have from talking to a lot of people that see us is people kind of connect with the music and connect with the words and make their own narratives about it. But we've created this blueprint for people through the years. And so more and more mental health has been sort of brought to the discussion in kind of around us all at the moment. People talk about that, people's wellness a lot. And yet I've always been into that human condition thing since the beginning of Bush. It's like music of complaints and hopes and, and sort of disappointments and aspirations and all that stuff. So it's just like living. And a lot of people struggling so much that it's just such an ironic title. I thought it's one of those things that when I thought of it and it just came, I was like, oh my God, that's a precious phrase. And I just like that idea of that sense of bravado that you've beaten loneliness, because we all suffer from melancholia or whatever. And I think that's a healthy thing, because it makes you reflective and sort of appreciative of the good times. And I'm not a negative person. I'm really positive. So I just think that you have to go through this sort of storm clouds to get to the good bits. And so the title just stuck with me.
I love that. We we're coming up on something called Bell Let's Talk Day here in Canada, which is a day allotted for conversations all around and about mental health. We've been doing it for years, and this year's theme is youth mental health. And I wanted to ask you, a father of three, just what it's like as a dad, helping your kids with mental health, and just for a lot of parents who will be listening, just that's a brand new hurdle, Gavin. Youth mental health and needing to keep an eye on our kids and just how they're doing.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely essential, because I think that what happened is that with COVID, one of the biggest things for kids is COVID took away all that socialization. So all those 2-3 years where we're meant to be sort of learning how to be with their peers I noticed with my own kids, that was taken away from them. They didn't have that time. And so I think that's been a real struggle for people, for kids especially, to learn how to adapt, how to be social, because they haven't had the same things that maybe we had. We didn't grow up through a pandemic, and so that is what really affects me. And kids are so mean, bullying in schools, ostracization, all that stuff. Kids are mean.
It's not any easier to be a kid. I think it's gotten a whole lot harder since we were children. I get that sense.
Yeah, and the way the world is the way the world is set up. The way the world is set up is really scary for that. Because social media, expectations, people feeling they're not having a fulfilled life because they look at Instagram or wherever, and they see people with these great lives, when we all know that those lives are kind of hollow and have their troubles as well. But things are portrayed that people just get lost in that sort of rat race of thinking that they got to try and keep up with their friends. I mean, I look at Instagram and always like, man, I need to live better. I was like, no, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Your life is fine. You have great things going on. So I think that's where it's really difficult for kids, the sense that they're not in the right place at the right time. They're generally in the wrong place at the wrong time, and everyone else is having a great time. And that's super dangerous for people to think that.
I've heard you say that once you make the music, once you give it away, it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to whoever's hearing it and whoever's enjoying it. And when you perform a lot of these iconic songs live, Gavin, you're seeing people sing those songs back to you, and it means something different to everybody else. And I guess what I wonder is, 31 years now removed from 16 Stone, you're seeing some of these biggest Bush bangers ever, just these huge songs sang back to you. And I guess I wonder what it's like, still seeing such a tremendous live pop for some of these gigantic songs that you've written, and how much it still means to people this many years later.
Yeah, well, you spoke earlier, you asked about the fire, you asked about the passion that I still have, and that's where it just all works in unison and harmony, because if I didn't have an audience, then I would be less confident about continuing on, less confident about making new music, because there'd be no reason. So much like stand-up comedy needs an audience, music needs an audience, music needs a listener. I just said I heard that quote the other day about the use of the audience in this Louis C.K. podcast with Joe Rogan. It's kind of interesting. And I thought it's similar with music. It just, that's why, for instance, I don't like it when I see bands where they don't seem to care so much on stage, and they just sort of, they don't seem to care so much on stage. Like I'm so lucky to be surrounded by people that really care. They want everyone to have a great time. They're going to give it everything they have to every show they play, because that it's not about a tour. If somebody buys a ticket, it's not about how big you were in Toronto or New York, or what your Instagram is like. It's that night when they bought a ticket in that venue. I don't know, Edmonton. I don't know wherever we're going to go. That's the moment. That's D-Day. That's where it's all happening. And so that's why I don't like it when I see people that don't seem to care as much. So I don't know I just like caring. There's loads of bands that really care, and you feel it. You watch them, and they're like, they're living, breathing animals, and that's what I like. That's what inspires me, and I think that's what is the heart of what allows us to continue and be inspired and play, and not just do it to kind of, for any other reason. It's very altruistic.
Last one, and I don't know that it's so much a question, it is a sentiment, but Chewy was beautiful, and I saw your tribute to him a couple of days ago on Instagram, and I just wanted to say, how special that bond seemed to be between the two of you. You experienced, love from man's best friend, which is some of the most beautiful love we can get in this life, Gavin, and I wanted to mention that too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is incredible. People with their animals, they sort of have this sort of great bond, and I need to get a new dog, but it's I can just see his grave from here, actually, outside my studio. I can just see I had a little tombstone, a little plaque made for him, or a stone. And so yeah, it's just, anyone who has an animal and a heart knows this feeling. Every time, it happens to all of us when we have these animals, and then they have them. So yeah, I love dogs. I love animals, really. So that's how it goes.
I have a 13-year-old senior dog who is a rescue who is about to cross the Rainbow Bridge. And I guess if I were to ask you one thing, I'd just ask if you had any advice for those final days. I'm trying to figure out how to properly just say goodbye to my girl. And I don't know that there's a perfect way, but I figured you're a good guy to ask about.
But my bit of advice was to spend as much time with her as you can and don't do much else.
That's the plan, is just to feed her every meal she's ever loved or ever not been able to have. I think she'll have chocolate on the last day, and just show her all of the love we possibly can, dude. I think that's all you can do, is just try to repay that debt, because the love you get from a dog is different than the love you get anywhere else, I think.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry. I totally feel your pain.
Man, I appreciate it. And honestly, we appreciate the time today. We can't welcome you back to Canada. Can't wait to do that, and can't wait to have you here in Calgary as well too. Thank you for your time today.
You're in Calgary. Okay, brilliant. Well, I'll see you there. Come and have a beer.
Absolutely. I'll bring the beers. I got them. Okay.
All right. Thanks, man.
Okay, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Filter, an iHeart Podcasts Canada production. Subscribe to The Filter wherever you get your podcasts.